In this video, I will discuss some rotational motion problems from previous question papers of IIT JEE. This is the first question. A particle moves in a circular path with decreasing speed. Choose the correct statement. A. Angular momentum remains constant. B. Acceleration A is towards the center. Particle moves in a spiral path with decreasing radius. The direction of angular momentum remains constant. You can pause and attempt this question. The particle is moving in a circular path with speed which is decreasing. The momentum of this particle about the center point is r cross p. R is radially outwards and V is tangential. So r cross p will be out of the plane of the paper, and the magnitude of the angular momentum will keep on decreasing because the linear momentum p decreases as the velocity decreases. The linear momentum p is m into v. V is decreasing, so p is decreasing, but the direction is constant. So option D, which says the direction of angular momentum is constant, is correct. Option A, which says the angular momentum remains constant, is not true because the magnitude of the angular momentum goes down, because magnitude of the linear momentum goes down. So option A is not true. And this particle in a circular path will have radial acceleration and also tangential acceleration because the speed is decreasing. So the net acceleration won't be towards center. So option B is not true. Option C says the particle moves in a spiral path. For the particle to move in a spiral path, there should be a force which is acting towards the center. If the particle is moving in a horizontal surface, then there is no force acting on it to make it move towards the center. But suppose if it's a planet moving around the sun, when the speed is decreasing because of the gravitational force, the particle is parallel. But in general, it is not spiral, so the option C is not true in general. So the correct option is option D. This is the next question. From a circular disk of radius r and mass 9m, a small disk of radius r by 3 is removed from the disk. The moment of inertia of the remaining disk about an axis perpendicular to the plane of the disk and passing through O is. If 4 options are given, you can pause the video and attempt the question. So the full disk is equivalent to a disk with hole plus the disk corresponding to the region corresponding to the hole. So if you add mass of this 2, we will get the mass of the whole disk. Mass of the whole disk has been given as 9m, and also the moment of inertia of these two will add up to give the moment of inertia of the whole disk. If you have system of particles, the moment of inertia of the entire system can be got by adding moment of inertia of the parts of it. So if you add moment of inertia of these two parts, we will get the moment of inertia of the whole disk. So the moment of inertia of this disk with the whole Pi1 and moment of inertia of the disk with smaller disk Pi2, and the moment of inertia is calculated about the same axis. So this is the axis about which all the moment of inertia are calculated. The axis is passing through the disk and it's perpendicular to the plane of the disk. And for the smaller disk also we have to find the moment of inertia about this axis. The moment of inertia of the disk is half mr square, where m is the mass of the disk. For the whole disk the mass is 9m, and for the smaller disk the mass will be proportional to its area. So the area of this thing is proportional to r square, that is r by 3 square, and the mass of the full disk is proportional to r square. So that fraction into the total mass will be the mass of the smaller disk. That is m. So the moment of inertia of this smaller disk about this axis is moment of inertia of the disk passing through the center plus mass into this distance square. This is the parallel axis theorem. So I2 is I, the mass m2 and the radius r by 3 square plus the mass into the distance between the two axes, that is 2r by 3 square. This 2r by 3 is given in the question. So adding we get it's r square by 2 into m. So the moment of inertia I1 is 4.5 r square mr square minus half mr square, so that is 4 mr square. So the correct option is option A. Let's move to the next question. A solid sphere of radius r has moment of inertia I about its geometrical axis. It is melted into a disk of radius small r and thickness t. If its moment of inertia about tangential axis, which is perpendicular to plane of the disk, is also equal to I, then the value of r is equal to. 4 options are given. You can pause and attempt this question. So the moment of inertia of a sphere is 2 by 5 mr square. This is a standard result. And moment of inertia of a disk passing to the center of mass is half mr square. And moment of inertia of the disk about an axis parallel to this axis, which is passing to the center, can be found by using parallel axis theorem. So moment of inertia about the center axis is half mr square plus the mass into this distance between the two axes, that is r, so mr square. So that's 3 by 2 mr square, and these two are equal as given in the question. So from this we get the relation between small r and capital R as r equal to 2 by square root of 15 into capital R. Correct option is option A. This is the next question. A small object of uniform density rolls up a curved surface with an initial velocity v. It reaches up to a maximum height of 3 by 4 v square by g with respect to the initial position. The object is ring, solid sphere, hollow sphere, disk. You can pause the video and attempt the question. This problem can be solved by using energy conservation. The energy at the initial position, that is the bottom position, should be same as the energy at the maximum height point. So the initial energy is the kinetic energy half m v square, v is the translational velocity, plus the rotational kinetic energy half I omega square, where I is the moment of inertia of this object about the center point. That's equal to the final energy, which is half mgh with the potential energy, and h is this value, and there is no kinetic energy because at the maximum height point it will stop translating and it's also stop rotating. So from this we get the value of I as half mr square. So this object should be a disk or a cylinder. So the correct option is option D. This is the next question. A block of base 10 cm by 10 cm and height 15 cm is kept on an inclined plane. The coefficient of friction between them is root 3. The inclination theta of this inclined plane from the horizontal plane is gradually increased from 0. Then option A, at theta equal to 30 degrees, the block will start sliding down the plane. Option B, the block will remain at rest on the plane up to certain theta and then it will topple. C, at theta equal to 60, the block will start sliding down and the plane and continue to do at higher angles. Option D, at theta equal to 60, the block will start sliding down the plane and on further increasing theta, it will topple. You can pause and attempt this question. So this is the block of dimension shown here. So as the inclination is increased, the block will have a tendency to slide down and also it will have a tendency to topple. So we have to figure out whether the toppling occurs first or the sliding down occurs first. The friction force, the maximum value will be mu into n, and the normal reaction is mg cos theta, and the friction force in general will be less than this maximum value before it starts sliding down. That will be equal to mg sin theta. When it starts sliding down, the forces along the plane will be in balance. So when the friction force is maximum friction force, it will just start to slide. So that corresponds to tan theta equal to mu, that's equal to root 3. So from this we get theta for the sliding to happen as 60 degrees. So only when the angle of the inclination of this plane is increased to 60 degrees, it will start sliding down. So now we have to figure out whether it will remain like that without toppling at this angle. So for the toppling to occur, there should be a net torque in the anti-clockwise direction about this point A. So when it is about to topple, the contact between this block and the plane will be at this point A only. So the normal action when it's just about to topple will pass through this point A as shown here. So when it's just about to topple, the net torque, this mg comes to two components, mg sin theta down the plane and mg cos theta normal to the plane. So mg sin theta into the distance, that is 15 by 2, will be in the anti-clockwise direction, and mg cos theta into this distance, that is 10 by 2, will be in the clockwise direction. So the net anti-clockwise torque is this minus this. So when it is just about to topple, this will be 0. So that will give a condition on theta. So tan theta is 2 by 3. 2 by 3 is less than 1. So the toppling occurs at an angle less than 45 degrees. So when it's about to slide at 60 degrees, it would have already toppled. So toppling will occur first before sliding. So the option A says at theta equal to 30 the block will start sliding down. It's not true. The sliding will happen only at 60 degrees. Option B, the block will remain at rest on top of the plane up to certain theta and then it will topple. That is true because at this angle, which is less than 45 degrees, it will start to topple, but it will not slide because for sliding to happen the angle should be 60 degrees. So option B is true. Option C, at theta equal to 60 the block will start sliding down. At theta equal to 60 the block will already toppled. So C is not true, D is also not true for the same reason. So the third option is option B. This is the next question. If the resultant of the external forces acting on a system of particles is 0, then from an inertial frame one can surely say that A, linear momentum of the system does not change with time, B, kinetic energy of the system does not change, angular momentum does not change with time, potential does not change with time. You can pause and attempt this question. So the net external force acting on the system is 0. The momentum is conserved. This is by Newton's second law of motion. But for the net angular momentum to be 0, there should be net external torque has to be 0. That need not be true. Even though the net external force is 0, the energy of the system can also change. So the correct option is option A.